Hi everyone, this is Olga Mack, working from home, building the future of contracts. And today I have a great pleasure to talk to Pooja.
Hi guys, my name is Pooja Bedi and I'm a lawyer from India. I'm also a licensed corporate secretary. I've been an in-house counsel for 20 plus years. Most part of my experience is in the alcohol space. And very recently, I also served as the director legal for Jewel Labs in India. In fact, regulatory policy, which is the subject I intend to cover with Olga.
We see public policy crisis these days everywhere. So what is the how does it manifest? What is the impact on society? How do you think about it?
There are certain business operations that impact public interest at large, plus the geopolitical reasons. And we know what is happening around the world these days, and a very live example is the sentiment with China and the Chinese businesses. You have to have the wider view of the world, and you have to understand what's going around and how it's going to impact, because an event happening in one part of the world is going to impact your business in another part of the world. So the CEOs today are finding it increasingly difficult to work only from business operations perspective. They have to widen their scope, and they have to actually work a lot on reputation management, exhibiting the corporate citizenship, and also being aware and being participant in I think all businesses must prepare for it, and they need to have that framework available where if anything is coming, then at least, if not proactive, at least they are geared up to be reactively prepared to deal with it. And when we started out, it was pure legal work that a lawyer was supposed to do in-house. As you see the in-house revolution coming in, as you see the GCs taking the top management positions, they're becoming the right hand or the left hand of the CEO in their businesses today. They're expected to step up and sort of not go beyond the legal advice and be participative in the business operations and activities. Lawyers are very well positioned to guide or to steer the public policy conversations. Obviously, the corporates can choose to have a public policy separate department with expertise that is very relevant to their kind of crisis or their kind of public policy issues. However, a GC definitely needs to get involved in these matters for several reasons in my mind. One is, of course, a general counsel. The position itself comes as the conscience keeper of the organization. It helps create good public perception of the company, because it seems like there is, the company intends to follow the rule of the land, and they intend to invest in resources that are going to guide them. They understand the law, they understand what are the motives behind a policy move, right? And they would be able to sort of navigate or pass through or bridge or act as an intermediary between the regulator and the businesses, trying to align the views on both sides. Because sometimes there is a huge fight between capitalism and socialism, and you have to bridge that gap. And these days, communication makes a lot of difference. It can make or break a reputation. You can go through a public crisis without zero legal issues, but you'll end up having a public policy crisis, which creates a bad perception, and your goodwill is impacted, your brand is impacted. I think there are added advantages for involving a gen counsel in a public policy conversation.
Last question. I kind of imagine the continuum of being passively involved and actively involved, and striking the right balance and how to approach it. I was trying to figure out the structural way of thinking about it. How do you think of this continuum between passive and active, and how to strike the balance?
It will depend on the business and the types of issues. So I have, and my experiences from very highly regulated market sectors. All the licenses, all the business operations depended on how the government perceives the business and how well we create the rapport. But there would be the businesses where that kind of active involvement may or may not be necessary. Then there are other considerations as well. First and foremost, the operational. Do you have the bandwidth to do this? Because legal work in itself is quite humongous and takes your full time. Do you have the resources? Because it's not a single man army. You would still need external help. You'll still need to find public policy expertise outside of the company. So you have to understand if the structure supports it or not. When a GC wears multiple hats, right? And you are from US, and there are many foreign jurisdictions that have these limitation on attorney-client privilege. One has to be extremely mindful when you're giving business advice alongside legal advice to not cross that line and create that risk for the organization where the regulators can come and question and all of it is exposed. There is a consideration where people might think that as a GC you have a conflict. Although arguably, if you also hire a policy director or hire a retained external counsel, it'll be the same thing. The perception is going to be still the same. But I think some of the businesses need to be cognizant. So depending on these aspects, a business can decide whether the lawyer needs to take a passive or an active role. But even if it is a passive role, it would mean that everything is passed through that those eyes and those lenses of the GC, and that's when you can actually formulate an effective public policy strategy.
Pooja, this was a great conversation. I really like to see how in-house lawyers are doing different things that they've done before and how they're expanding their reach and impact and the implication it will have. Great conversation. Thank you so much.
I'm glad, Olga, and like I said, I'll be happy to engage further, and it was very, very nice to have this little chat with you tonight.